mean, the fact that we're already on week 2. We've started off with a live session that was every day we were meeting and talking images, video, um, everything in between. And then now we're here in the second week. We come back, we do some things around web apps, we do some things around just taking it to another level with image and video. Today is about business apps. So just want to let me know in the comments, everyone, first off, where you calling from. I got to know where my people at. So let me know in the comments where you hollering at from, and we'll start with that, and then I'll get rolling. Can everyone see my screen as well? That's going to be an important question. And there we go. Hey, Colorado, Canada. All right, they're starting to roll in now. Canada, I see you. Colorado is standing out. Los Angeles, Denver, Evergreen. Okay, we're going to have to make this the Colorado call. Shout out to Oakland, Cornell in the building. Kara from Seattle. My boy Brandon, shout out from Arizona. Okay, Germany, Frankfurt in the house. Okay, I mean, it is coming in. I see we got a lot of Boulder. Colorado is just running the show. Yeah, so I have for this one, I got to turn my video off for this one. It's going to be very processing heavy just by the nature of what we're going to be doing. So it's going to, if it gets choppy, let me know, but it's going to be kind of interesting. Um, London, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Okay. All right. I think there's a ton of stuff here. A great question. So Curtis asked, behind on all. So behind on everything. How might we catch up or determine where we are on their just training and such? So think of this, what we're doing, as meant to be mini workshops. So any one of these sessions that you are taking, these 1 hour vibe sessions, they're meant to be enclosed. There's no, I need to take one to take the other. So that's the good news about this. If you go back to our course last week as well, the course we did, the AI in 5 with Larissa, everything there was like every day was different. So the good news there is like you don't have to watch it in sequence there either. So the thing I recommend to you is like pick the things that are interesting to you. If you're into image production, go to check out some of the image content. Maybe you go to day 1 of AI in 5 recording, and then you'll go to, and you can find that in the academy. You go to the live recording section, it's right in there. Maybe Paolo or somebody could post a link in the chat, but again, you just go where you want, and if you're interested in something more related to business, then check out day 4 of the AI in 5 where we did research, and then come check out the this session today, the recording. So the short is, it's meant to be very discreet, so that someone like yourself who's coming in, or maybe want to maybe miss the session or something, you don't have to take the whole body of work. You can pick and choose, and if you enjoy it all, you can consume it all. Yeah, so all these recordings are in the academy. You'll be able to access them there. So just wanted to make sure everyone knows you can get that there. I'm gonna shrink this down just a little bit. Let me see here. Oh wow, thank you. Thank you, Curtis. The training with the Colorado cohort was excellent. I see the building blocks, hence the question. There are dependencies in prep. There are some unique kind of dependencies generally, but it's more like the meta jokes throughout it. But as far as the content, each session, especially these vibe sessions, I can't, even take away the AI in 5 course. These vibe sessions are the deal. So as far as being discrete and individual. And let's make sure everyone's on mute. If you're not on, make sure you're on mute. I know, and make sure, you don't get surprised, baby crying in the background or something. But yeah, so maybe kind of bringing us home here. Will we receive a certification? Yeah, so for those that took the AI in 5, those certifications are going out. But we're not, these are sessions. These are meant to be like literal throwaways, no pressure, learn something one time. You don't have to like stick around for 50 years. In 1 hour, you come away with some skill sets. So that's what this is. It's a little bit of a different format. It's not meant to be an actual course as much as like direct giving you guys skills and tactics you can take to dominate your workspaces. Like it's all about making you successful with this. It's less about like getting you a certificate. So I appreciate all the feedback, though. It's great stuff. Last one or so here. Sauna says, you mentioned at the last workshop that there will be workshops released in October. I guess similar to week one, long ones. Yeah, so we're holding tight of just a little bit about some of those big announcements. um, we did crazy numbers, everybody, like ridiculous numbers. So we had to go back and shift the plan. We were actually planning to do 2 or 3 beta runs of like a course like AI in 5, just to get a feel for it and really fill out what features does the community want and need, all that kind of stuff. But with the volume and the demand, we kind of just said, you know what, let's take, because we have a volume of feedback from every one of you, like volumes. So that feedback said, you know what, instead of we don't need to do 2 more beta sessions. Let's just take the feedback we've gotten and process that over the next few weeks. So, in short, you'll be hearing more about our programming coming soon. And I know I appreciate everyone's patience in joining these sessions in between. Potential for follow on. What is the form to ask questions? Yeah, that's exactly it, Curtis. So, part of what we're doing in there is we're putting details into that program. So, as far as like community, being able to communicate to each other instead of having to talk on YouTube or in like some kind of tool like Slack, being able to communicate directly in the academy, where you can get points, things like that for engaging and submitting your project, stuff like that. So trust me, we are coming forward. It's not going to be done overnight. And then maybe last question I'll answer here. Um, yeah, will we receive any feedback? I don't know if we could do that. That's hard. Y'all made it really hard. So it was 3,000 plus submissions. So it's going to be hard, but there's some things we're going to try to do. And we're looking at seeing if we can do like an award. Nothing has been approved yet. I'm just still working on it. For sure, everyone will get certificates who completed all 5 assignments. But we're working on seeing if we can do some kind of awards or something like that to at least go through ones and highlight some of them that were interesting. But more to come. The ultimate goal is to have all the stuff people submitted that they're interested in. We're looking at potentially putting that in the showcase. So you'll be able to see the content, videos, etc. Some people have made, and then you can see the prompt that helped make that. So there's going to be some fun stuff coming. But patience is a virtue, and I appreciate everyone's patience. So but speaking of which, I can't answer every question. We wouldn't even get to the content. So we're going to get rolling and I'll come back to questions as we roll here. Appreciate everybody. So you know how it does. I'm not going to spend too much time here. I'm going to keep it moving pretty brief, but I got to give a shout out to the team. We got Paola, Nagar, Maria, Josna. Nagar and Paola specifically are on the call, and I just got to give a shout out to those two. This could not be done without them. Nagar is a phenomenal person on the team who does so many things to get with our instructors, get them onboarded. If everything is smooth and you're liking what you're hearing, Nagar somewhere in the mix. Even to that same extent, this wouldn't even happen without Paola. Paola's the one who's setting things up, reaching out to you, following up. She is the magic that makes this show rock. So I gotta make sure if anybody's in the chat, give Paola and Nagar any praise, any round of applause, all that. Well deserved. I couldn't do this without them. And then Maria and Jocelyn were behind the scenes throwing haymakers. Phenomenal crew. This is why I'm able to bring it to you. All righty, day 5. Question was, why? What next? Now I know most people here could be either from the session. This could be your first 5 session. Depending on it, I'm not going to cover these slides as much. I'll get mainly to the content. But the short is, we made this because of you. You all showed us in the comments and the questions that you asked, all of it, that you wanted more. And you wanted to know what was next after this AI in 5 we did. And then the biggest thing was you gave so many submissions. It showed that you all wanted to put stuff to practice. This wasn't just about, hey, can I just see something cool or how something works? You wanted to get after it. So that's when I said, can I turn this energy, this phenomenal power that we've unlocked with each other into something that can help you grow your brand, help you get new jobs, help you really become a professional key player in this new space that we live in. And so that's why we're baking that whole community development and project showcase framework into the academy. So you'll see where there's many updates coming too, but inside the academy, there's a section called Showcase, and that's where you can see apps, videos, and different kinds of content, whether it's prompts and technical documents, all the things that you need to really see what somebody did, or even be inspired, or use the things that they've made. It's all going to be there. This is a game changer because as a community, we can make our own tools, assets, resources, viral products, game changing and disrupting tools. Like there's nothing that can stop us from taking over the world with this because we have millions of followers. So if you learn how to vibe code, make an app, publish it to GenAI Academy, and we promote it, you'll have more reach than most startups can dream of. So like imagine what's possible. Like it's insanely crazy. So I just want to tell every one of you, my goal is to make it so y'all can truly, take over. Like people question whether vibe coding, vibe design, all this stuff, like is it legit? There's gonna be a separation. There's gonna be people that do it as hobbyists, and there's gonna be professional level. Just similar to like gaming, where there's professional gamers. And so I see every one of you being able to be pioneers in this new industry. There's so much to go, so much opportunity, but it comes from this. We launched Vibe Sessions to support your journey beyond the intro to generative AI to become an active publisher. If you don't take away anything from today, the main point is you don't have to be technical and you don't have to be a coder. All you have to do is know your space and let the tools be able to help you express whatever ideas you want to bring to life. There we go. All right. So appreciate everybody. Again, we're putting people on mute because people are jumping in and stuff. We'll leave some time for question stuff at the end in case people want to chat it up a little bit. So 3 things I'm gonna share with you. These are sessions and what they're about. The sessions are, again, web apps, teach you how to make applications. If you think about it, we've got 30 years of the web internet that has made it possible to bring apps to everyone's devices. Like there's like you can do a lot of things with vibe coding, but I would recommend that like coding any kind of like server side, Python based application, that's cool, that's nice. But that's like another level of work and functionality that has to go through and work properly. That is still a mission. It's a mission. But if you want to make a website using vibe coding tools, that's actually really sustainable and really capable within the framework of its limitations. So I recommend anybody, if you don't do any kind of vibe coding, web apps is the most easy. The next one that's the most like interactive, but still most straightforward is vibe design. Doing video, image, audio, and letting it flow. We did some great things on last Thursday there, but just keep in mind that is a structure of opportunity to explore. So you can go through and try image to video, video to image, imeo audio. You're going back and forth between things. It's very experimental. Today's session is about business apps. And this is by nature going to be a very more technical call. So maybe let me know in the comments how would you rate your level of technical from 1 to 5? 5, I'm really technical, or I'm very strong with business concepts like data tables and prediction and data entry, or all the way on 1, like I'm brand new. I don't know nothing about that. Okay, we got some 4s, some 5s, a lot of 4s, a lot of 5s. All right, some 4s. I'm glad to see a lot of 5s and 4s. But no, shout out to my 1s and 2s. Y'all here, y'all welcome to. You got the best experience. If you're a 1, if you're a 0, your mind is about to be blown. Now, I promise you, I'm gonna try my best to make it understandable. This is gonna have to be more technical. So I'm just gonna put a warning out there for everybody in advance. This will be a little bit more technical by nature, but the ultimate output is you'll be able to come back to the recording, consume it, and everything I'm talking about, you can research in other contexts. So shout out to my 1s and 2s and 3s, and 4s and 5s. I hope y'all don't get bored. Let me know if you are. So let's get to it. So vibe coding. Today's session again is about business apps, but before I go into that and like how you can use vibe coding to solve data problems essentially and create applications for any kind of internal use, what were you looking to get out of today's session? Let me know in the comments. What kind of business app kind of concepts or use case? What brought you here? What are you looking to get? I love that. Augustus is like, I just want to further my career in AI. What can we do there? And then Andy's ways to make running my small business easier. Oh yeah. From POC to final product. Okay. A tech stack to build a full app. I think y'all gonna get a lot of stuff you want. Tools for personal finance. Yeah, Jim, you'll be able to do that. Automate repetitive tasks. Oh yeah. Ways to streamline different procedures. Yep. Professional development, clear understanding. These are all things that are going to give you, you're going to get some of that today. What AI is capable of. Oh yeah. Um, Looking ways to connect applications and databases. Really want to continue to engage, expand my knowledge. Oh yeah, it's never ending. You hit it on the nail. I'm gonna say this last point. The future of education is continuous learning. These systems, these tools, these industries are evolving so fast. You just can't just like get a degree and be done. You have to continually be growing in these spaces. Say I got a degree in vibe coding a year ago. Vibe coding now is completely different. So, like in general, it's an evolving field, and so it's important to have that mindset, Alice. I think you're right on. All right, so let's get into it. For today's session, and again, keep them coming. I'll follow back into them as we go forward. There we go. Sorry about that. So we had to turn on mute by the host. And then if I mute, I can't unmute. So Paula, be on standby. I appreciate you. So for those that don't know, I lost my voice over the weekend, so I'm a little raspy. So if I'm coughing or something, I'm gonna go on mute. But I try to spare y'all. But we'll play it by ear. So getting that simple definition for all the ones and twos, you might need to know a little about what vibe coding is, but you don't need to know a lot. The point is you're using agentic AI tools to be able to do the work for you. And so it's a subset of coding that focuses on mainly features and custom UI, web apps, as we talked about, personalized apps. And as we're going to talk about today, much, much more. So let's look at for this today. I'm going to talk about a couple of key things. And let me just bring this up here and then go full screen. There we go. So we're going to cover 4 things today. We're going to cover the primary data source types. And again, I promise you, I'm not going to keep it too technical for long, but it's going to have to get some technicality here just for you to understand. So I'm going to teach you the foundation to solve any business problem that fits into 3 categories. And so first, we're going to talk about like data sources and how to understand those, because this is a life hack that will help you no matter what your job is. If you want to accelerate your career, 2 of these 4 things are musts. The rest are like power moves. So when I say must, you must understand the primary data source types, because that's going to let you go to any company and instantly be valuable. You'll be able to assess the companies, like what data they're using, because what the truth is, the data you use dictates the business you build. I repeat that. The data you use dictates the business you build. If my data, and just a simple example for everyone that might know, everyone knows what support ticket data is. If I build my business to where my whole reaction or the way I respond to customers is based on if they create a support ticket, then by nature, my whole business is going to be reactive, because I'm only reaching out to people once they've had an issue. Once someone creates a support ticket, they've already had a problem. So that's the most important paradigm to change the nature of how any company does business. You can be an entry level person and instantly work your way to manager or into a data role, just understanding number 1 alone. Because you'll be able to tell them things that they knew they were experiencing but didn't know why. They'll say things like, just to say the example I gave you, I just feel like we're always reacting or we're always late and it's just so hard always playing catch up. Well, generally it's because your notification, your flag is based off of a lagging data type, meaning a data type that doesn't give you as much time to act because someone's already had an experience. So very much I'll dig in deep there. Then we're going to talk about the three main business problems worth solving, because you can do a lot of stuff. But if you generally go from company to company solving these three, you can have a lot of success. And then this one's where it's going to get, again, very technical in a way, but more like strategically interesting, is this idea of the knowledge pyramid. For those that don't know about that, this is a must know concept because it will help you, even if you're not technical at all, be able to like turn technical teams into highly effective producers because you'll be able to troubleshoot and like design solutions in a better way. And so that's where we get to number four. Number four is really an extension of number three. Once you understand what the knowledge pyramid is, you can then do some of the things that really make it possible and really drive it as a system, which is inductive and deductive reasoning. So I promise I warned y'all it's gonna be a little bit more crazy and technical. But are y'all ready for this today? Are y'all good? Y'all okay with me going forward, even if it's a little bit technical? Oh, we're gonna use our brains to map it out. That's what's so cool about this. You're gonna be able to map it out on a. You can map it out on a napkin, take a picture, and then put it into an agentic AI tool, and it'll make it. That's what we're talking about. These things are so fundamental. You won't need software. As long as you got a like your brain and some kind of utensil, you should be good. Okay, let's get to it. Now, again, just kind of moving through here. The first concept you're gonna have to understand is the primary data source types. Now, if you go look my name up and type in primary doors data source types online, you'll find some of my concepts. I came from a career in this industry called customer success. So like there's a whole basket of stuff there. But I'm just giving you all the cliff notes. So the core thing is it's gonna be a little scatter plot by nature to explain this, but bear with me. The main thing you need to understand is that there's what's called you know, like this idea at the root of it of like core records. And what you'll get in that base idea is something that you might heard of. Things like my accounts, my contacts. If you know anything about business, generally there's a record for every company in your customer base. There's a record for every person. So there's most of the data types that make up what we call primary data source types or core data source types are made up of the people, places, and things. How do you know you're looking at a primary source type? If it has a unique identifier and it doesn't have multiple records per object. So for example, if I have a list of my accounts and it's all my 200 accounts, each in that table, each record is one account. And so one account in that table is a unique company with a unique ID. And then, so that tells me I have a primary source type because it's a thing with a unique identifier. Now, there could be other things that connect to those things. Those are called child records. So I can have stuff like, account can have contacts under it. Contacts can have, interactions or tasks. There's all other things that can exist. And so just to kind of break it up, you're only within the core or like the primary source types if you're within this framework. And what that looks like is accounts, contacts, people, places, things. That's all your what they call your master records and your demographic data. And then when you add the layer of time, so when you take IDs, people, places, things over time, that's where you get these time series sources. Now, if you don't know what the hell a time series source is, I guarantee you do. At any base level, if you know anything about um, any concept, if you've seen a data table before, you are familiar with this concept. And it's literally just the idea of like a date, an ID, and a series of measures or metrics. And that's what makes up most of the data in business. So if you think about it, it's almost like a puzzle here. I could say my accounts have contacts who use my platform and submit support tickets. What that means is I have an account object, a contact object that again tracks the people that then use my product. So there might be a product object, like a features object, and then the interaction of things over time makes time series data. So that's where I have, if they use my product, they log in over time. You'll see literally on the table, even if you're stupid at data, you know nothing, you should be able to be a guru now because you can just literally say, where's my ID? Where is my date field? What are the data points that I'm measuring, or what are the series of data points? So like again, this is stupid simple stuff. Like even if you don't know nothing about data, you should be able to understand these concepts. It's really simple. And if you look at tables, you're now going to start to see them. Oh, I know what that is. You can instantly see if a table has a date field and it has multiple records of that same thing. So meaning I have the date that this one account logged in over the last 6 months. You'll see in the table that same account name multiple times, and then you'll see the dates changing, and you'll see the metrics whether they change or stay the same following each record one at a time. So like that is the core idea here. So you have these core master records, and then you have these time series sources that show those records interacting over time. So what that literally, like as a thought concept, means is that all possible business data problems are a quotient of the combination of these sources. Now I know people are like, what the hell does that even mean? That means that like 2 times 2 includes every variation of 1 times 1. So like 1.25678 times 1.5557 fits in. If I drew a circle of 2 times 2 in a bubble and I made all of 4, all of 1 times 1 versions will fit into it. 1 times 1, 1 times 1.55, 1 times 1.8999785. All of those fit within that bubble. And so what that means is in this example, every data problem you can solve fits within this data bubble. This is a powerful thing. This means you can literally go from any company to company solving data problems. Now I gotta pause here. I know this is getting super technical, so follow along. Everyone following me? Are y'all there? Is this are y'all just like Sam's talking Cantonese or Latin? Okay, somebody A said this is good. There we go. Okay, so Mama Han, thank you, thank you. You're following. Let me know a couple more people. Let me know y'all following. Is this good? Brandon, you're good. You're following. Keep it rolling. All right, Alice. Okay, great. If anyone's having some struggle, just let me know, and I can maybe follow up and such. But I want to make sure I'm not leaving too many people behind. All right. So now that you understand this concept, think of it kind of like this is a CD almost, like a flat CD. What you want to do then, you kind of want to inflate it. And so this is the nature of when you take data structure and then you turn it into data architecture. Like, what's the difference? One of them is like the designs. So this is like, okay, my business is going to have product usage data, preparedness data, meaning like serve things that we did with them, support ticket data. The key thing to understand as you go from left to right, you get less predictive. Meaning, if I look at someone's usage data, I can generally tell more about what's going on with them. Meaning, it gives you more leading understanding. And then if I go to the right, something like net promoter score or support tickets is gives you less leading, meaning it's less predictive and ultimately it's more reactive. So this is a strong understanding. If you go to any business and ask them, so what kind of data sources do you use? And they say, yeah, well, our processes are based off of net promoter score. And then we also, meaning like when someone takes a survey, and then we also look at support tickets. They're telling you that their business is reactive. And so your mission at the company could be to do things to give more visibility in these areas. So what's the level of engagement in real time? How are they using the product or the service in real time? If you're doing an onboarding project, how are they meeting their milestones? Like these will give you better indicators, thus change how you do your business. Your data defines your business more than anything else. You have no data, then you're winging it. If you have reactive data sources, they're good, they're useful, but they're not going to allow for you to be able to be driving business. You're going to be reacting to business. And then as you get more predictive, it's more noise. So it's harder to see. So you have to put in more work to understand things like usage in engagement patterns, but it's so much more worth it. And so taking that concept, I can then tie these things together. So as we saw, since the structures are there's things, and then those things are related, and then those things interact over time, you get this tiered layer that you're going to be mimicking in all data use cases. So you can essentially think of it like there's the things, so whether that's my accounts or my companies, my people, whatever my things are, and then there's the sub things that they use, do, or are made up of. So in this example, let's just say I'm a company, software company. My main primary stakeholder is the companies, so my accounts. But I don't interact directly with just the accounts alone. I interact with the people at those accounts. And so I care about what the people are actually doing, not just the company. So that's where the the actual contacts are the level that's important to me as much as the account. So that's draw one level down. You see how like even if I'm stupidly not have ever known anything about data, I'm now a data architect here. I'm taking the ideas and concept I just showed you, and now I just built the data architecture, and it's logical. It's like it has nothing to do with coding, nothing to do with data management, even nothing to do with Excel. If you got common sense, you should be able to map any data process. Now, let me put a caveat to that. The first two or three, it's gonna be rough, but if you just do it every day, you're gonna get really good at it. So this is one of those things that like you don't have to be technical to understand how to map data structures. So again, I just common sense. Okay, I care about the accounts. I'm working with the people. I want to know that. And then the people might interact with my business on three or four things. They might use my product, like I mentioned before, you know, get onboarded through a service project, and then they submit net promoter scores through our surveys. Okay, well, those are going to be the sources that then need to roll up to the contact. So I know who used it, who committed submitted the survey, and who completed onboarding. And then I need to roll that up. And so what you're going to use is these unique things. You're going to have IDs, unique identifiers, meaning a unique measure or a unique alphanumerical value that tells you that this thing is unique. Because name might be the same. Like you have 1,000 Sams. It could be Sam Cummings, Sam Burris, Sam. So if I just use first name, it won't be unique. So you need a unique value. And with that, you can use that unique value of the contact to tie to the outcome textual and metric, and then use the unique value of the account to tie the account to the contact. You see how like even with no technical depth, I'm pretty good at understanding. So, oh yeah, so some people ask about what do you mean by tiers? And I'll answer maybe a couple of these questions here. So, um, so the tiers is just an abstraction concept of the layers of the data sources. So if I just threw them all on the table, and then I started to like map their relationship, you're going to get a structure. So think of like minus n, like the idea there is like that's the raw actual data that you're going to be using or interacting, showing interaction over time. And then n1 is like that first unique thing that shows up into that data, meaning contacts show up in support data, usage, etc. And then n2 is any ID or unique thing that shows up in that primary thing, like the contacts all on their records have an ID of in the account name for the company they belong to. So that's how you're able to make this structure. That tier level could be 5, 7 stories, 8 stories. It's dynamic based on the relationship in your data, but everyone should be able to do this kind of basic mapping. Oh yeah, totally. That's the whole thing. And most of the time you're coming into a company and there's already some data. So you're asking not like what data do we need, more so what data do we have? And then from that, you get a sense of, oh, that's why the business functioned the way it does. 9 times out of 10, how the business functions can be traced back to the data. So, oh man, we're really reactive. I feel like I'm always just, it's not enough time in the day. I'm always just chasing clients and doing stuff. Well, that's because you have reactive data sources that are driving your business. So again, just really about mapping what data exists there. Good point though. Um, Actually, the end please. Again, this is it's an idea of a notation that it could be X number of them. So it could be like tier 1, 2, 3, Um, but the in means like I can have 10 things in there. So I can have, let's just say I have parent accounts at the top level. But under parents accounts, I have contacts, but then also I have primary decision maker, I have buyer, I have end user. So this contact actually can be broken up into 5 or 6 different things that they're all contacts, but they're different types of contacts. So again, the idea is like at that tier level, I can have n number of things. Okay. Oh wow, look at that. Shout out to Alice coming in, doing the work live on the call. So I don't know if everyone see my screen here? I'm showing Alice just sent the screenshot. Let me do this. I'm gonna switch to this. There we go. Switch to that. So Alice, shout out to Alice. She just shared some of her data that she had, and this is some data from her business world. Again, not sure the exact context she's coming from, but just to prove the point. Again, I can just look around and get a sense. So you see, there's these IDs, there's names of companies, there's these different things. It's like I'm able to understand. Okay, this is the things. Now, how they interact over time, the resources that they give us. That's the n minus one. Like they have documents, tools, details of where the location is, and then they might have different sources that make up that, like what they bought, the different units, the different tools that went into that location. So that's tier N2 that fit under the company. So again, so much that what I'm saying, you could literally look at a screen in any tool and put it and apply it. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back here, but I appreciate you, Alice, for giving us a quick view and an example there. That was super awesome. All righty, back to the parties of views here. So let's keep it moving here. I'm gonna go ahead and show the next piece of this, which is how do you know what problem to solve? So now that we know, like again, no matter how technical I am, I can pretty much understand data structures in any company, come in and then truly, architect a data structure from that. The question you got to ask yourself is what problem should I solve? There's three. Now, there's again billions of problems, tons of stuff, but these three are usually like the lowest hanging fruit or the most impactful on the business with little effort. So you can vibe code these locally on your computer. It's not something that's like too technical to be done locally. And so just kind of keeping that understanding of like, okay, locally, what can I run on my computer without having to like, because if you instantly do something like I got to connect to our team servers or I have to like, you know, have a direct connection with Salesforce or some kind of CRM, like it's going to get crazy. And you don't want crazy. And then the security stuff alone is going to be ridiculous. Just making sure you can keep security on people's data. There's whole industries around security management. So you're going to want to avoid all that stuff like the plague. And so the best way to avoid all that stuff in your vibe coding is to do local based use cases. And so that's what also factors into why I say these three are like the most worth solving because they all could be done locally. So what that means when I say locally is you can do the work under the banner of your own personal security clearance at your company. Meaning, if you already have access to certain data sources and they let you download them and put them on your computer due to your role, then you don't need any other securities or approvals because you're just downloading data on your computer and you're using it right on your computer. So these three: data entry, prioritization, and prediction, as well as insight retrieval. These are the three. And I'm going to share what they three are again in more detail. Data entry is anytime you need to input data into a spreadsheet or anytime like you have to update a data table. Now, I'm not suggesting here that you create a tool that is going to, import through data into Salesforce because again, or something like that online, because again, that's crossing into the security lane where like, should my tool have access to my Salesforce when it's not guaranteed to be security compliant? So you don't want to have live interaction or live data entry, but you can have it to where it updates a Google spreadsheet, or you can have it upload stuff into something like a S3 bucket, and then you can use like a Amazon data table. That's what an S3 bucket is for those that don't know. that sits online, and then I can use my tool to pull from there. So what I'm trying to say to you generally is like you want to have an abstraction layer of security between whatever you're doing and the actual source itself. Similarly, prioritization and prediction is perfect for local because really what you're doing is you're taking and downloading whatever data you need, and then you're using that data locally on your computer to do some type of prioritization, meaning organize them by some type of measures or predict something. So look at how is something going to behave. You can develop that locally on your computer. All you need is the actual data and then a little bit of understanding of what problems you want to solve and the sequences of how to do it. I'm going to teach you the sequencing next, but you already know how to like map out the data. You know a little bit of how to now choose the problem. There's only one other piece. Once you have that, you can do any vibe coding use cases in these categories locally. The last one is insight retrieval, which is a whole category of things where it's like, can I look at all the records of last meetings and pull out what we talked about? What are the top keywords or how many people were frustrated? That's retrieving from a body of data. Again, if you notice the pattern, these are all things I can do locally because I really just need to pull the data into a spot or have it load into a spot. Let me check and see. Are you guys following along on the problems here? Make sure we're following. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Pareto rule is Pareto principle is critically relevant to prioritization a lot, and it will be one of your ways to save a lot. It's a lot of time and thinking, and how it shows up primarily is most drivers in any system are in the tops, the top five, top four of that system. So meaning like if there's an issue with logins, generally most of the time there's five things that are having the biggest impact on that. And then everything else may be death by a thousand cuts. Oh yeah, so what prediction entails is the ability to look at previous data and then through whatever mechanism, make an assumption of what it will be in the future. So if I want to predict someone stuff, I can predict things like an outcome. So I can predict, are they going to churn, or I mean leave or stay? Are they going to graduate or fail? I can predict an outcome, but I also can predict a measure. So I can say, are they going to have 50 logins or less? So like, again, I can do discrete prediction, um, or I can predict, numerical outcomes. Either way, it's the same kind of concepts, but a little bit different in practice. Okay, so let's get to it. This is where we kind of follow along. So far, let me know in the comments, what's the most interesting thing you've heard so far? I'm gonna read maybe one or two questions, and we're going into the last 15 minutes. So I'm gonna walk through the final concept of today and show it live in the vibe coding tool. All right, let me see if I got a question or so, some points someone made. Yep, I already touched on that one. Some good stuff so far. Is NPS really a thing? That's a funny joke, actually, Lizette, because NPS has lost a lot of luster. It was like the go-to metric for like 5 years and maybe almost 8 years in software. And it was so stupid. Because like by nature, it's a dumb concept. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's useful in a way. Like I can't deny why NPS is important in business, but like the idea of using NPS to drive your business is stupid. Like anyone that says like, yeah, we look at the surveys and we see what they say, and then we come back from the surveys, and then we come back and we plan what we're going to do. That's a horrible business model because like by nature, anybody you talk to, they already had that experience. So if they have a bad promoter score, you're going to be trying to turn that experience versus stop it from happening. So it's a powerful tool. There's something to net promoter score. I can't deny its power in the industry, but it has a role. And right now, I think we've gotten in the last 3 or 4 years, really, I blame COVID. COVID is what killed NPS in a way. There was a lot of change around that time and how people monitor and manage their business. But in general, NPS is not really the thing to do to drive your business. All right, let me see a couple more here. Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you about the knowledge pyramid. That's what I'm about to do right now. So we're gonna do knowledge pyramid as we close out and then give an example. Yep, you got it right. So you're gonna have the whatever use case that's gonna help you define what's gonna be your problem. So like if the use case is, hey, we want to better track our customers, that's data entry. Use cases we want to know who to reach out when, prioritization. We need to know, be able to understand in advance how much they're going to consume of our products so we can make sure we have enough. Prediction. We need to be able to find quickly who's happy and unhappy based on survey results. Insight retrieval. So like literally someone can test you in your sleep and you'll be able to say it on one for one. And then everything else I shared comes from that, mapping the data structure and then defining the architecture. Now let's get into the next piece, the knowledge pyramid. This is where I've like changed my career the most with this simple thing, like super simple, but very powerful. So the idea here is that we live in a nested layer of intellectual revolutions and technological revolutions that took place. Like in the 70s, maybe even going back to the 50s, 60s, we had data revolution taking place. And that even went crazier in the 80s. And then in the 90s and the 2000s, we had an information revolution. And then you're aware again, we've all been living in mostly a time of information overload. You don't believe me? Check your cell phone. How many notifications you got on there? Check your email. How many email notifications you got? You have a ton of information coming at you at all times. And then it's been happening over the whole time, but we've literally lived in this insight layer with AI giving you recommendations, things like social media giving you recommended posts, um, even like YouTube giving you your next recommended video. We've lived in this world of insight now where it's about curating information to be more useful. And so, like, literally, this is why, again, you don't have to be anything technical to understand these concepts because you've lived through it. If you know anything about an Excel spreadsheet that it exists, you know the whole data revolution. If you know anything about how a cell phone or an email notification works, if you've ever got a notification, you know what the information age is about. And if you've ever watched a YouTube video, got a suggested friend, or even got a suggested anything in any software, insight, even spell check. I'm just saying, like, autocomplete. There's no reason you should say, I don't understand these concepts. You lived it. And so it's important to kind of take that framework and understanding because this stuff is so tangible in our lives. This is not some separate thing you're learning. I'm just shining a light on what you already know. And so with that, you don't need to know the stuff I'm going to tell you next, but you understand the concept. So I'm going to show you in business, there's some standard data tools or places where your data exists. These are just some examples, but just giving you examples. So for my customer data, I might have a tool, which is one of them is called Gainsight, where there's a ton of them out there. It's a huge industry called customer success, but all my customer data will be there. I might have a sales business and all of my sales data, who I have meetings with, who's the decision maker, all that's going to live in Salesforce. I might have a customer support business where part of my business where they manage support tickets. That's going to live in Zendesk. I can throw away these company names. I can make up names. It don't matter. The point is, there's a place where your data is stored. And then generally in their UI, in their user experiences, in their user interfaces, there's going to be places where they're trying to like show you that information, meaning take the noise and turn it into a hot list of like, or a report or a dashboard. So anytime you've seen charts or dashboards or like my top account things, like stuff like that, you're looking at information. And then when you go to look at things like trends over time, health scores, like, so not just what their numbers are, but is it good or bad? How is it trended? How do they compare to their peers? These are all insights. And so again, I took little screens from different kinds of products. I literally, vibe coded some of these. So like, just to give you the idea that like, you should understand data versus information versus insight on a very physical level because we've all experienced it. If it's data, something in a spreadsheet. No matter what tool it is, how cool the UI looks, underneath the hood, it's just a spreadsheet. Like everyone's selling you billion-dollar businesses that are literally just spreadsheets. It's all a farce. So just let that be your understanding so that you don't misunderstand, which is you like, oh man, Gainsight and Salesforce, huge, complex platforms that I don't quite understand. No, no, no. It's just a data sheet with a UI. Think Excel with some charts on it. And so under that understanding, you can then do a lot of powerful work. So what I'm going to show you now is how to use the knowledge pyramid to architect full solutions. And then when you take those solutions, you can then vibe code. So this is like, you notice we went from raw problem, use case, all the way down to this. With this step, you can then build any business app to solve data entry or retrieval prediction, or you get the idea. So with that, let's look at the first one. This is called inductive solutioning. Think of it like going from data upward. So I'm going to induce what insights I'm going to get. So say my source I have, let's just in this example, I have a list of my contracts. So my contracts with my clients in a table somewhere. And that somewhere is in a tool called Salesforce. On that are going to be fields, individual data points that then tell me the data about that. So the total, how much they spent, when it happened, what the category of like the type of buy, what was the name of the company. I have all that. But then if I want to turn that raw data into information, I need to add more columns. I need to add what industry are they in? Who was the person? What was the lead source? These extra things tell me turn like who all, okay, I had 30,000 people spend this last year. Okay, well, what was the industries were those people from? So I mainly had, 90% of those people came from manufacturing. You see how like it's more information when you add context. And then if I want to know, okay, well, which ones had the best spending, or which ones are our best customers, or which ones had issues, I then need to add some kind of abstraction layer, meaning a rating or a status or an escalation flag. You get what I'm showing you and why this is so fundamental? Like you truly can come into any company and crush it, even if you're not technical at all. And you can work with with technical people in a very powerful way. And it's really common sense. If you watch this video back a couple times, you'll realize, man, this is actually stupid easy. But let me continue. So that's inductive reasoning. You're inducing the output based on the data. I'll open it up maybe here in chat. We got 5 minutes. So I got to keep going. But yeah, primary keys. So like that's the main thing we talked about a little bit earlier, where to be able to tie things together, you need unique IDs. So when I showed you this, and I'll go back, make sure you can see this. Yeah, when I showed you this is that old idea of tiering. In those tiers, you have a unique ID that ties everything together. So that's going to be your glue to tie everything throughout all these exercises between layers. Yeah, he's saying that this order would have been better. Use case, map the data, review the architecture, then map again. I think that's an interesting concept, but there's some gaps in that because there's so many assumptions you have to know. So I had to make sure you all knew the understandings of like, what are the primary data source types at all before I talk about use cases, etc. So bear with me. I couldn't cover it in a perfect way without abstracting things a little bit, but I'll keep moving here. What we got? Yeah, go with Excel spreadsheets. It's gonna be perfect for you. It'll do most of what you want. Oh, the best site for beginners? Yeah, Excel and spreadsheets are the best. So literally you could just create a data table in Excel and spreadsheet, download it as a CSV, and then use it in your vibe coding. I know, right? Like insane. Like I can't stuff too much into this without like getting it right. So like I had to do it. So you know what? I'm not here to do nothing that's not going to help you or like give you value. So I looked at the agenda and said, you know what? I got to do it. This is going to be too helpful to not do it. So with that, I'm going to show you one other way to induce things. One other way to solution. You can see this here. And that's deductive solutioning, meaning you can start with the outcome you want or like the insight and then work your way to what data I need. So say I have some support risk data in Zendesk. I have people in Zendesk again is a tool. These are all enterprise software tools. So it's not like something you can go download and use easily. They're huge software tools, but they are representative of tools that are, the main player around a data source type. So Zendesk is the big player for support ticket data. Salesforce is the big player for sales data. And then Marketo is and again, they got acquired by Adobe, but they're an example of a company that represents marketing data. So there's usually some big company that represents that data source. And I just used a couple for this example. So again, let's just say inside, if I look at the configuration of Zendesk, somewhere in there, there's some fields that tell me how well the ticket is, what's the status of the ticket, and if there's any kind of escalation. But if I have that and I say, you know what, I need to figure out how to tie that to my customers and who to act on, I can then go look at Marketo and see and pull, as long as there's the same ID on whatever records in Zendesk, has the same unique ID as what's in Marketo. So I have an ID that can tie them together. I can then flatten that table to where there's one record that has industry, contact, rating, status. It's literally one row that has all these columns on it because the ID is the one thing that lets me normalize and connect them all. And then from there, I can trace it back to what they're spending. So you see on this scenario, if I want to take my support risk data, so issues people are having, and then figure out how to better prioritize them, I can deductively deduce, okay, I need to know who they are and how much they're spending. Like that's just common sense. Okay, I only got enough time in the day. Who should I prioritize? Well, first I need to know who is doing it. And then I think the best way to prioritize is how much they're spending, at least so I can know who put my time where the money's most effective. Again, there's other factors you want to look into, but that's like the base level. So again, I know this is a very technical, this is a lot to cover. It's impossible to do it in 1 hour, but I like doing the impossible. So I hope this was helpful. But the point is, inductive and deductive solutioning are going to be your main powerful tools. And what you're going to get from that is now, if you take everything we just covered, you'll get two things. You'll get the actual prompt of what you're going to define. So let's just say in this example, I want to create a qualified leads list. So this is a me prioritized use case. I want to prioritize who to talk to. And so I wanted to be able to look at my customers for, let's just say my company's called Tech Company, and it identifies the high intent. So people that are like really good from using my product or have the right demographics. So you see how like literally you're almost like able now to do word problems in your head. I can see in reading this, okay, this is a prioritization use case because they want to have qualified leads, so know who's scored better than others. And then my data sources are going to be product usage and demographic. All right, so I know. And then I know by nature, I'm going to have to link demographic and usage to the lead. So that's a person that then links to the company. So like, again, that's what I mean by this. You'll get so good that you can literally just read a sentence. Someone could just say a sentence and you instantly know what the data model is. And then, just as you're going to develop it, there's some structured things that you want to do. Make sure it's all client side, no server. Everything's processed on your computer, all those kind of things. That then takes you to everything we learned around the knowledge pyramid, where essentially I take each of those deductive solutions. So if I deduced how to find out who the person is, I deduced how to flag who's most risky. Then I induced, what's the most interesting demographics to look at. And then I induced what kind of milestones I want people to achieve. Like I can take the sequence of all those out that I made, each of those inductive processes, and then give it to the model and say, do these steps. So in this example, I can say, in my first step, I want you to take all of my contacts, which are people that are part of my customers, and then all of my leads, which are people that are not customers yet, take them by email address, so that unique identifier, and then combine them into one unified object. So that was the first one step I did. But then I induced or I deduced using the knowledge pyramid. But if I can do like 8 or 9 steps and solve any heavy technical problem. If it's like a simple problem, you might need 1, 2 steps, but you're literally just sequencing multiple steps to get to a more complex outcome. So I had to solve data flagging, so like prioritization, and then demographic and usage. I had to solve 4 steps before I can get to step 5, which is like the actual goal I want, which is prediction. So you learned a lot today. We covered a lot of ground, I know. But I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna stick around for the next few minutes here, but open the ground for conversation. The point is, you're able to take the things you learned today and understand what data sources are driving your business, how to map those sources, and then ultimately how to begin to solution use cases, and then turn those into scripts that then you can load into any kind of tool to start generating the outcome. But hey, we don't have infinite time, everybody. I appreciate everybody kind of joining. I will include the prompts as a part of the follow up here. I'll give it over to Paola just so you kind of use some of this stuff. Before I get out, I'll let you guys share some questions in the comments. Was this okay? Was this useful? Was it too much? Hold on, you want more in depth, Lizette? I didn't expect that. Paradigm shifted. Wow, this is amazing. I'm so thankful everyone enjoyed it. This is a hard one to do. I was worried. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, oh my goodness. Am I going to get it right? There we go, everybody. So, yeah, you're there. Lots of good insights. Great session. Tons of info. Love the direction. Okay, beginning with understanders to understand dating sources. So, at the very beginning, I'll just repeat it real quick one last time for everybody. You're going to first come in and assess what are those data sources in your business? What are they using? What powering different things? Then from that, you're going to look at, okay, how do those sources all relate to each other? And you're going to create essentially a tiered structure, architecture. Then from there, you're going to choose what problem you want to find. And then whatever problem you're going to try to solve then dictates the solution you need. So that's when you're going to use the knowledge pyramid and how it works to then begin to solution, whether it's deductively, so use whatever data you have to figure out what kind of insights you can get, or start with whatever insights you got and figure out what data you need to make it richer. So that's the flow here that you've learned today. From that, then you ask the UI, you literally paste all your flows you made, all your solutions, all your notes, and then ask it to create a PRD of a product it can make from that. And it's going to generate something like this, where it'll take the step-by-step processes you gave it and generate the full thing. And then that usually is what will make something like on the right, where you actually it'll generate a full UI of the product. Okay. Final questions here. Is it only work for? No, no, no. So this session was primarily around business apps. But if you want to hear more about like how to do web apps or how to do image and video, join those other vibe sessions. I don't know if Sapalo, you put the link in the chat for everybody, but you can sign up for some more sessions we'll be having. I know it felt short. It was, what was that? Was it too good? It was, sometimes, life goes fast when you're having fun. So he was like, it was good, but too short. Felt short. Wow. Think you are what others aren't. What is in the Lego set? So love it. Maybe a bit more spread out. I agree. I think definitely if I can give you more time on this stuff, I will definitely try on the next one. Hmm. It was too good. Y'all are funny. I appreciate y'all. Yep. It was in depth. It was theory, but it was needed to paint the big picture. Oh yeah, for sure. And so on the next business app session, I will be actually doing vibe coding with these concepts. So definitely check us in on the next one. I'll try to make that one more practical, where this one was more theory. So with that said, I appreciate everybody. Final words. Appreciate everybody for joining. I'll see everybody.